Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprised you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we're fresh off of UFC 318. What went down? Was there excitement? Yes. Was there disappointment? Yes. Was there things we weren't expecting? Of course. And as well, there were things we were expecting. And on today's episode, we're going to go through the entire UFC 318 card and recap everything and talk about what is next for each and every one of the fighters. Very excited. Yeah, I was able to catch every single fight, all 14. And safe to say we started out hot. We were 8-1 on prelim predictions, probably the best prelims I've ever done. And then for the first time ever, I went 0-5 on a pay-per-view main card. That's right, 0-5, ladies and gentlemen. 4 underdogs hit. The one underdog I picked, which was actually Dustin Poirier, it did not win. So it was a very depressing main card, but we're going to cover all that later on today's episode. Also, we're going to discuss some new UFC fights and even discuss the current state of SummerSlam. That's right, WWE's biggest event of the summer. You could even call it the second biggest event WWE puts on. Is going down in 3 weeks, actually 2 weeks. I think that's actually going down, and we're going to be talking about everything that's currently announced and what could be potentially announced in terms of matches happening. So with that, I'm excited to get into things, guys. I recently moved out of my apartment with my buddies. It was very, very sad. You know, not as sad as the previous one, oddly, but it hit me a bit at dinner today that, like, dang, I'm never going to be living down in college with my buddies again. But I don't doubt I won't be living with some friends sooner or later. But enough about me. Who cares about the host, Zachary Ruger? No one does. We care about fights. So let's discuss some new UFC fights that have been announced and even some replacements. So kicking us off with our announcements, it's a big one. That's right, we're starting with the biggest. UFC 321 going down in Abu Dhabi October 25th. Alexander Volkov, the number 2 ranked heavyweight, takes on the number 5 ranked Halton Alt-Made. A massive fight. Massive fight, and I absolutely love it. And the winner of this is getting the next title shot. All right, obviously, I think on this card, you're going to get Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. I know that, I don't know if it's Tom Aspinall or Cyril Gane's manager said that they're not going to be fighting Abu Dhabi, they're going to fight in the United States. But the fact that this fight is on UFC 321, the fact it's in Abu Dhabi, you can bet you're going to get Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. My only question is if it's going to main event. Are they going to throw Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam on that card as well? Are they going to throw Merab versus Sandhagen on there? I don't know. But as of right now, we know Volkov will take on Almeida. And Almeida is coming off a dominant win over, I believe it was Sergey Spivak, if I'm not mistaken. I actually have no idea the last fight that Halton Almeida had, if I'm being honest, but he's been on absolute tear. Was it? I think it was Sergey Spivak was the last guy he beat, who he manhandled and finished in round number 1. So Halton Almeida is in an excellent position to get a title shot, but Alexander Volkov is coming off an absolute robbery against Cyril Gane. As a man who picked Cyril Gane in that matchup, I can admit that that was a robbery. So that's probably going to either be co-main event if Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane main events, or it's going to be definitely, it is going to be on the main card. But I'm excited for this matchup. It is the biggest one that has been announced as of late. Going down on October 18th, we are in Vancouver. That's right, we're going back to Canada, this time in Vancouver. For UFC Vancouver, we have a women's strawweight matchup between the Brazilian Stephanie Luciano, who is 1-1 in the UFC, as she takes on the Brazilian Ravina Kennedy Oliveira, who is 0-1 in the UFC, 7-2 professionally. Why do we have 2 Brazilians fighting in Canada? We got a lot of Brazilians up in Canada. I don't really know. Luciano coming off a win over Talita Alankar. Good win for her. This one's a toss-up right now and is definitely going to be on the prelims. UFC Paris has a fun welterweight matchup as Sam Patterson takes on Trey Waters. Trey Waters is 2-0 in the UFC and is coming off a win over Josh Quinlan, but spent some time since we saw him actually fight, so I'll be very interesting to, I'll be very curious to see how he does when he comes back. And as for Sam Patterson, dude lost his UFC debut. All right, gets knocked out, then proceeds to finish Danny Barlow, Felipe Silva, and Johan Lanese. The Danny Barlow one more impressive than any of those, knocking him out. Literally a guy whose nickname is Left Hands to God, known for his knockout power, gets knocked out by Sam the Future Patterson. Now, of his 13 wins, I'm pretty sure 11 of them are finishes. So Sam Patterson back on a roll. If anything, I'm probably picking him to win, as England's closer to France than to the United States, so he'll have a little bit of hometown advantage. Here's one which I had no idea was going on. UFC is absolutely dialing it up for the fall, the final quarter. UFC Rio de Janeiro. We are going to Brazil, October 11th, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So what are we doing in October? We're going to, I know UFC 320 we're going to talk about that in just a second, is going to be October 4th. Then we're going to Rio de Janeiro. Then we're going to Vancouver. Then we're going to Abu Dhabi. Wow, October's going to be amazing. But flyweight matchup as Lucas Rocha is back in action as he takes on Stuart Nicole. Both of these guys lost their UFC debuts, but I think they're better than, letting on. And the Brazilian Lucas Rocha will have the hometown crowd on his side. He is 17-2. For goodness sakes, Stuart Nicole 8-1 coming out of Australia. Yeah, should be a highly competitive matchup. Sticking with our flyweights, you have Hyun Sung Park stepping in to replace Alex Perez against Steve Erceg. And Steve Erceg is ranked at number 10. Hyun Sung Park is 10-0, and he's coming off a big win over Carlos Hernandez. Or was it Shannon Ross? One of the two. He has beaten both of them in the UFC, and this is a massive opportunity for Hyun Sung Park and a perfect opportunity for Steve Erceg to bounce back, as he is on kind of a rough streak here, losing to Pantoja, which props to him for getting that title shot, but then gets knocked out by Kaikar France, then loses a 5-round decision to Brandon Moreno. I mean, this is going to be interesting for Erceg. And the fact if Hyun Sung Park could just sneak in and become a top 10 flyweight, that would be awesome. That's going down at UFC Vegas 109, August 9th. So kind of sad that's on the not the prelims, but basically on a Apex card, which we actually start all August with 2 Apex cards. Kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Now, transitioning into UFC 321. Oh, I thought this fight was on 320. My bad. 321, light heavyweight action as Alexander Rakic, ranked number 7 at light heavyweight, takes on the 15-0, number 11th ranked Azamat Murzakanov. And Buddy just absolutely ran through a random Brenson Riviera. No competition whatsoever for Azamat Murzakanov. He's 5-0 in the UFC, 4 knockouts. This dude is an absolute killer. I'm pretty sure out of his 15 wins, 13 or 12 of them are by knockout. Dude is a absolute savage. And as for Alexander Rakic, he was on a absolute tear, and he's just ran into some unfortunate luck as of late. I mean, what are you going to do when you run into Jiri Prohaska? When you run into, who did he even lose to? Was it what's happened to Rakic as of late? I know Blachowicz beat him in a fight that was highly competitive. Did Carlos Ulberg beat him? I don't actually know how Rakic has been doing as of late, but he hasn't been doing too well. So, I don't know. This is a big matchup, and it should be on the main card. And just seeing this in the Volkov Almeida fight lets me know UFC 321 is going to be fantastic. Here we are, guys. UFC 320 going down in the T-Mobile Arena October 4th. That's what I was looking for, actually, right before my birthday. What a good birthday present would be if I could miraculously find a high-paying job and be able to fly myself out to watch this pay-per-view card, but I probably won't be able to. The number 5 ranked women's bantamweight will be taking on the number 9 ranked women's bantamweight as Macy Chiasson takes on Yana Santos. Good fight for both ladies, and I got to ride with Macy Chiasson here. I actually hope that Macy Chiasson wins this one. She's always been one fight away from getting a title shot, and she continues to just sell over and over and over again. So we'll see if she can finally get one here. I don't really want to put too much hope in that. Not trying to be grim, but yeah, certainly it'll be fascinating to see who wins that one, but honestly the biggest one out of all these matchups we've talked about is obviously Volkov versus Almeida. That is going to be so massive. I'm so pumped for that, and that is going to be what we'll be looking forward to. But yes, those are a bunch of new UFC fights that we can look forward to on the horizon, but enough about that for now. Let's do a little WWE discussion right here, as we are going to be heading into SummerSlam before we know it. Now, it's going to be a 2-night event, and they haven't actually divvied up who's fighting on which night at all. And we actually have 8 confirmed matches with the potential for 14, the minimum for 10, because they're easily going to do at least 5 per night, potential for 7 maximum per night. Under this new Triple H era, we can expect how many matches we're going to get. The first one that we do know is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, which was recently made into a street fight. Hello. And people are rumoring that The Rock could be potentially returning. I absolutely love that. People are even saying Travis Scott, Randy Orton. There's going to be a ton of interferences people are calling for. I don't know. I'm easily going to be riding with John Cena in this one, but I could maybe see Cody Rhodes pulling it out. The only reason I don't see Cody Rhodes actually winning with a belt is because he's going to actually film a movie called Street Fighter, so is Roman Reigns, so I don't know. But John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is going to be the Night 2 main event, or the official main event of the 2025 edition of SummerSlam. And speaking of Roman Reigns, he does not have a confirmed matchup, but it is most likely that he is going to be teaming with Jey Uso to take on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed's Seth Rollins faction. And there is some rumors that Seth Rollins may get involved, but To be honest, I don't really expect that whatsoever. I do believe he actually is injured, although people don't really know what to do. I think the WWE has kind of doxed everyone and made everyone be like, oh, he is injured. Oh, he isn't injured. Oh, what is he really? So now they'll never know when he returns, which is kind of a smart move, especially if he is injured. But Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker could also be a potential matchup they make, but I'm banking on a tag team matchup with Jey Uso, so he could potentially not take the pinfall if they were to lose. Also, confirmed matchups that we can discuss. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship, and Tiffany Stratton's just been on absolute tear defending this belt, running with it, but I do believe her reign ends here with Jade Cargill. Yeah, I gotta go with Jade. And the build-up for this was all centered around Naomi, and now that she's out, I don't know, the ladies definitely have some work to do. They're both kind of baby faces. It's a tricky scenario, but if they can get a good build-up, this should be an exciting matchup. And we'll revisit it in 2 weeks when we drop our official predictions, and we'll just kind of see how that one's going so far. Another confirmed matchup, Randy Orton is teaming with Jelly Roll. That is right, don't be confused with any other superstar singer on the planet. Yes, the Jelly Roll to take on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And this is just a waste of two of the best heels in Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul, and this is just fan service. This is just a celebrity appearance to garner more eyes, and the celebrity appearances are just going to continue to go up and up as we enter this era where they're all about trending and they're all about partnerships and sponsorships, and that's what WWE's all about. So Randy Orton, Jelly Roll taking on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul is an actual match happening in the WWE in the year of 2025. What have we come to? Here's what I think could main event night 1 of SummerSlam. That is the World Heavyweight Championship matchup between Gunther and CM Punk. And I think after 2 years, it's time. It's time we put a belt on CM Punk. And I think him beating Gunther here would be fantastic. Because if Gunther beats CM Punk, I'm going to be honest, there really is anyone out there besides Seth Rollins who I think could challenge Gunther. I mean, if he beats CM Punk, who else is out there? Roman Reigns, for goodness sake. It's going to be ridiculous if he beats CM Punk, but I think everyone wants CM Punk to win. I especially think if you're going to have a villain win on night 2, you need to have a face win on night number 1. So Gunther versus CM Punk, potential to be the main event. I think it will be the main event, and I'm really hoping CM Punk wins. They also need to build this feud up because CM Punk won a big matchup on Raw last week, and Roman Reigns stole the spotlight. So we're going to need to see something in the next 2 weeks to really build up this matchup. Fifth match, we have officially announced the triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. People are saying this could potentially main event night 1. I don't really see it. Naomi versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. After the great cash-in at Evolution, Naomi is your new champion. I absolutely love it. And the swerve of her going after Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton to her going against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky was perfect, and nobody saw it coming. Literally no one called that. No one saw that coming. And I think these three ladies are going to deliver a fantastic matchup, but if Jade Cargill does dethrone Tiffany Stratton, you best betcha that Naomi is going to retain this thing. But I think if Tiffany Stratton retains, you could be potentially seeing Rhea Ripley or Io Sky win the belt. But this should be a fantastic women's triple threat match, and WWE has done an excellent job with triple threat matches this year, so expect good things from that. Next matchup, we have officially announced the Women's Intercontinental Championship matchup between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. This is like their, fourth PLE facing each other. Could even be the 5th time they faced in general over the last post-WrestleMania months, and they've just been delivering banger after banger after banger matchups. I do think this is a good time to have Lyra Valkyria win if you want to put her over, because if Becky Lynch wins here, she's going to be absolutely unstoppable, so you just have to be careful how much you want to build her up. Think about this matchup really makes me think of what we're doing with the Men's Intercontinental Championship. I know Dominic Mysterio has it. I don't know if he's actually injured or if that's just, a work, but him versus AJ Styles, I would love to see, and I would actually really love to see Finn Balor lose the WWE Tag Team Championship matchups, or the belts. He doesn't even actually have to lose them, but I would love to see him turn heel on Dominic Mysterio, or even face, however you want to view it, and them to start a feud while AJ Styles wins the Intercontinental Championship. I would really love to see that, but I don't know if WWE is even going to make that matchup. They have room. They have room to make that matchup, but Women's Intercontinental Championship is official. Speaking of the women's division, the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez will be defending their women's tag team belts against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and you can bet your butt that you're going to see Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss win the tag team belts here. They're a new team. They just formed, and the fans are loving it. They have great chemistry, and they are working well as frenemies, if you will, which they're leaning more on the friend side as compared to the enemy side. And I definitely think they will dethrone the Judgment Day, And you might even see Liv Morgan get involved here to cost the Judgment Day. You never know. But thinking about the women's tag division makes you really think about the men's, and I don't really know if you're going to get any tag belts on here. Finn Balor and JD McDonough hold the World Tag Team Championship belts, and I have no idea who they could face. There really isn't anyone on Raw they could face. We low-key need new tag teams overall, so I really don't know. If I could even make a guess, the New Day. They might have them face the New Day, I kid you not. And if you want to mix it up, add in like American Made or something, I have no idea. And as for the WWE Tag Team Championships, the SmackDown division, they just never put those belts on PLEs, and they should. Andrade and Rey Fenix are going to be teaming together to take on the Wyatt Six, and I think they could do a massive TLC match. They could do a massive Fatal 4-Way at SummerSlam. You could mix in the Street Profits, DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Wyatt Six to defend the belts against Andrade and Rey Fenix as well. I just don't know if they're going to pull the trigger, but those are potential matchups you could have also on SummerSlam. And the final matchup that we do have official is a steel cage match for the United States Championship between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I love the stipulations. I really do. We're getting a steel cage match, a street fight. That is what I live for. We need stipulations nowadays to mix things up. And as for Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, their feud has been doing all right. I think you're definitely going to see some interferences here with Tonga Loa, JC Mateo, Talu Tonga, maybe even get a little Jey Uso interference. You're definitely going to be getting Jimmy Uso interfering. And there's rumors that Zilla Fatu, another member of the Samoan Bloodline, could be debuting here. We'll have to see if he does. I know he was competing at TNA Slammiversary, which I think was actually going on today as I filmed this, Sunday night. So, very fascinating. But, this is going to be a good matchup, and I really do hope Solo Sikoa wins, and I'd love to see Jacob Fatu transition more towards the World Heavyweight Championship or even the WWE Championship. And my last thoughts on a potential matchup, look, I would love to see the United States Championship for the women's being defended, but Julia, they just have no faith in her for some reason. Her and literally anyone could deliver a banger feud, and they just refuse to. So I would not expect much out of her, if anything, which is really a shame, because she is pretty entertaining. But that is the current state of WWE SummerSlam as we are heading into the final 2-week stretch. I think I'll check in again in a week and see how many matchups we've had announced. But as for now, that's what we got. So with that, I say we waste no more time and we dive right on into our UFC 318 recap. And might I say, I'm 192 and 98 on the year on picks now. Okay, I'm doing pretty freaking good on predictions. We are now 6 away from being plus 100. The hunt continues, and it will continue as we go along. But this card was absolutely fantastic to start. We kick things off with 6 straight finishes. All right, are you freaking kidding me? Including 5 in round 1. Utterly fantastic. And we were on absolute fire until we ran into a split decision with Nikolai Veretanov and Francisco Prado with our picks. But let's go over the prelims from start to finish to kick things off. And for starters, we got our first performance bonus of the night as Carly Judice took on Nicole Cagliari. And to quite honestly, no one's surprised, Carly Judice utterly massacred her. Early massacred her, defended a 7 of 8 takedowns. I was going to say 1 of 8, but that was how many Nicole landed, and had the exact same control time. Significant strikes, 109 to 32. Total strikes, 117 to 35. 38 to 11 in round 1, 47 to 16 in round 2, and 90 seconds into round number 3, Carly landed one of the nastiest knee knockouts I've ever seen. Literally, it looks like the EA Sports UFC 5 thing. She didn't even curl up in a ball. She got hit with the knee in the gut, and literally just fell down, looked up at her like, I don't want to fight anymore. And the ref stopped it. And make that Carly Judice's 5th career knockout. Mind you, her professional record is 5-2. And I absolutely love her, man. 2025 has been her year. 2 knockouts, 2 performance bonuses, and through her 3 UFC fights, she's gotten a performance bonus in each and every one of them. Absolutely phenomenal. Her only 2 career losses are split decisions. One of them's a fight of the night. I mean, Carly Judice, welcome. You are officially legit in the women's flyweight division. And honestly, I know people don't love throwing her to the rankings, but JJ Aldrich is gonna lose the Korean Silva. JJ Aldrich versus Carly Judice. Feed me that. As for Nicole Cagliari, this is now 0-2 in the UFC, 0-2 in 2025. I don't really know what to do with her. I really don't. You could always throw her a bone and have her fight someone random. It was back in March that Eunice Dubin was knocked out by, what's her face? Carly Judice, and she has a fight coming up with Kennedy Freeman. Maybe the loser of that matchup you could take on, but Nicole Cagliari, it's really going to need to assess what to do. At 28, you're not completely out of it, but getting knocked out here, not a good look. But Carly, Lafayette, Louisiana native, she was not losing in her hometown. Following that, we got to the middleweight division, and Bruno Ferreira wasted no time with Jackson McVeigh. Now, I do got to say to Jackson McVeigh, don't be discouraged. He had some good scrambles with Bruno Ferreira, but he made the mistake of grappling with someone of such talent as Bruno Ferreira, and yeah, it didn't take much time for Bruno to get into side control, lock in an armbar from Mount, and that was that. Pretty nasty armbar, too. I mean, he was putting a crank on that. 5th career sub, and the 100% finish rate stays intact for Bruno Ferreira. And, him versus Ikram Alcaceres is going to be a banger fight. I think you just rebook that, because that's what you were supposed to do. Yeah, he's going to be very exciting in the future. But Bruno Ferreira is now on a 2-fight winning streak in 2025 and has 2 armbars. It's becoming a staple. It really is. And he has now improved to 5-2 in the UFC. Bruno Ferreira is sitting pretty. But yeah, rebook that Ikram Alcaceres fight if Ikram's not going to be fighting higher up in the rankings. Thanks for Jackson McVeigh. The middleweight division, it's deep. There's unlimited people that you could fight. If I want to matchmake you with someone easy, Robert Valentine recently lost on this card. You could just have him fight Robert Valentine, or even who did Robert Valentine lose to originally? Torres Finney? Ryan Loder is who he lost to. Ryan Loder was actually just knocked out by Azamat Bekov. I like a Ryan Loder, or I like a Robert Valentine fight. I like matchmaking with guys like that. Jackson McVeigh, I say, he's only 26, potential, 6-1. Your only losses to Bruno Ferreira. Let's not hold it against him, but very entertaining. After that, Ryan Spann making it look easy against Lucas Brzezic. 2 minutes, 47 seconds, guillotine choke. Nasty work. Nasty work from Ryan Spann. And the fight lasted 2 minutes and 47 seconds. 2 minutes and 14 seconds of control time. Literally, Ryan Spann wasted no time landing the takedown. Lucas Brzezic, a clear skill gap. And yeah, got into good position. Lucas was just about to get up, and Ryan Spann landed his signature. I think we can call it his signature guillotine choke, a nasty crank on it, and Lucas tapped just before he went to sleep. So good work for Ryan Spann, and first win since October. He's just been fighting it, man, fighting it. He's 2-4 over his last 6, and it's just been a rough ride. It really has been a rough ride for him, but after losing in March to Waldo Cortez Acosta, he has been able to bounce back, and I'm very happy for him. Future for him, people are throwing out the name Muhammad Usman. I really like that one. I'd even go as far to say Mick Parkin, Martin Boudet, guys like that. Justin Taffa would be a very fun one if Justin Taffa sticks around. Junior Taffa as well if he sticks around, but I think Ryan Spann is going to have some success at heavyweight because he's either off or on. It's so true, Think back to when he submitted Ion Kudalaba. That was crazy. When he knocked out Dominic Reyes, and then he got too ahead of himself with his crazy style and gets submitted by Nikita Krylov. Then him and Anthony Smith put on a sloppy fight where they both gassed out. He then made, a year turnaround and had plenty of time and just got knocked out by Bogdan Guskov, letting his chin hang out there. Bouncing back with a win over Oven St. Preux was good, and then just couldn't hang with the pressure of Waldo Cortez Acosta. But I think if he can adjust to the heavy hitters at heavyweight, he can have some success. But yeah, good stuff for Ryan Spann, getting his 14th career submission and make it 20 of 23 wins by finish. Dude's a beauty. As for Lucas Brzezic, might be one of the worst UFC fighters we've ever seen. I kid you not, and for a guy who's going to end his UFC career 1-6, he'll hold a win over Walter Walker. So, you're able to give Walter Walker maybe the one lone defeat he's going to suffer for the foreseeable future. But Lucas Brzezic, you gave us some fun knockouts, Ryan Spann submitting you, Kenny Nchukwu knocking you out, Mick Parkin knocking you out, Waldo Cortez Acosta knocking you out. Yeah. Lucas Brzezic, we shall send you to the independent scene, and at 33 years old, I think it's best you just try and pick up some wins outside of the UFC. But yes, good stuff here, and the card was moving at such a fun, fast pace, and to everyone's surprise, Jimmy Crute gets a finish. Oh, I was so happy. I was so happy for this one. Marcin Pacino was kind of having his way, on the feet, you could say. He was really targeting the body, targeting the legs, hitting some headshots, and the body was getting messed up. But Jimmy Crute remained undeterred and was able to land a takedown, actually landed a couple of takedowns, was finally able to get into side control and cranked in a nasty armbar. Another armbar on the prelims. 4 minutes, 42 seconds in round one. With 18 seconds left, Marcin just refused to have his arm broken, just could not deal with that. And Jimmy Crute, 5th career submission, 1st win since October 2020. Feels so good for him. I feel so happy for Jimmy Crute. And I do want to say all but one of his wins in the UFC are by round one finish. The only time he's gone past round one, he finished Paul Craig in round number 2. And I mean, it's just been a hectic 5 years. The Anthony Smith loss where he injured his leg. He then made too quick of a turnaround against Jamal Hill and just didn't really know the power of Jamal Hill. Then Alonzo Menefield, having the draw, then the turnaround where he would get submitted. Then the Rodolfo Bellato draw where he was winning in round one. I feel really happy for Jimmy Crute. I'm excited to see what the future holds for him in the UFC. And in terms of light heavyweight division, I don't really want to give him a big name per se. I want to kind of build him up gradually. And I know Modestas Bukauskas has a fight coming up with Paul Craig. I would love the winner or loser of that to take on Jimmy Crute. I think that would be fantastic. I'll even throw out I don't really want to have Alonzo Menefield fight him again, but there's a lot of fun options to do with these guys. I mean, I'd even say Ian Cutelaba could be a name of someone he could fight. I think they actually fought early in their careers. I don't even know, but yeah, they did fight early in their careers. I know my knowledge. I shouldn't even second guess myself. Good stuff for Jimmy Crute. A number of those guys would be fantastic for him to fight. As for Marcin Pacino, I don't know. 2-fight losing streak, submitted in both of them. He's 1-3 in his last 4, submitted in all of those. I don't really know. How old is he? 37. Marcin could either retire or maybe fight Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby could use himself a nice little knockout. But I don't know. Marcin, I think your time in the UFC is coming to an end. Your UFC record is currently 4-7. Yikes. Yikes indeed. Yeah, Marcin might be it for you in the UFC. Following that, we have the debut of Islam Dulatov, and his time in the UFC is just beginning. Dude is literally a German model. Dude is mogging everyone with how he looks, and after dealing with some striking affairs and defending 3 takedowns from Adam Fugit, Islam said no more, rips him with a punch. Down goes Fugit, just takes a couple follow-up shots to really put his lights out. And Islam Dulatov, 26 years old, is now 12-1. 12-fight winning streak, and has a 100% finish rate. 7 KOs, 5 subs. Yeah. This dude's legit. This dude is absolutely crazy at welterweight, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to see who this guy fights next. I mean, I'd love to just matchmake him with Nikola Vertanidov, if I'm being honest, if we're matchmaking on the same card. I mean, dude, great win. Great win for Islam Dulatov here, and Buddy has it. Buddy has the power. Buddy has the charisma, and he's talking about, I gotta actually get back to Germany. I have a photo shoot going down. Dude's an absolute legend. As for Adam Fugit, I think it's another guy whose time in the UFC's come to an end. He's 2-3. Been finished in all his losses. Last win was a split decision against Josh Quinlan in June of 2024. I don't really know what's left for him. I really don't know what's left for Adam Fugit, but if we want to build up a young contender, let's just matchmake him with Francisco Prado. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. We can just matchmake him with the other welterweight fight we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. So, Islam Dulatov, massive win here, and he gets the second performance bonus of the evening. 4 minutes and 6 seconds into round number 1. But the quickest finish, the best finish, has got to go to Ateba Gaudier. That's right, 1 minute and 10 seconds. He knocks out Robert Valentine. And I can't lie, Robert Valentine was a juicy-looking underdog, kind of like a bit of inexperience from Ateba Gaudier, but we never really hesitated, and Ateba just absolutely destroyed him. This is now back-to-back opponents where Ateba has rocked them, and they somehow, for some reason, feel the need to egg him on and say with their hands, like, come on, bring it, with the, moving their fingers, and Ateba just lit him up. I mean, Robert Valentine ate, the first combo from Ateba and just didn't look the same. And Ateba Gaudier, dude is the silent assassin for a reason. Dude, he was silent. He was legit silent. He wasn't saying a single thing. He was just so calm and humble on his post-game speech with Michael, who was it, DC, and man, exciting stuff from Ateba Gaudier. Minus 550 favorite, and the winning streak continues. I mean, fantastic. And all of his wins have now came by knockout, except for one, I think, decision he had earlier in his career. But yeah, I mean, he could be fighter of the year, debut fighter of the year, you know? I mean, 2 knockouts in March and July, both in round 1, both performance bonuses. Yeah, this guy's an absolute stud. Dude's a beauty. Middleweight division as well. So it's tricky to, I don't know what to really do with Ateba Gaudier, if I'm being honest. I don't know if I want to, I don't know who I want to matchmake him with. I mean, he's young, he's 23, but he's kind of come out and just been on an absolute tear. You know, Torres Finney's taking on Azamat Bekov. If Torres Finney wins that, actually even the winner of that would be a fantastic fight, but they might try and move Azamat up. If Torres Finney beats Azamat Bekov somehow, I would love a Ateba Gaudier versus Torres Finney. But Jackson McVeigh could also take on Ateba Gaudier. Depends how much they want to build this kid up. But right now, he has got the pizzazz. And with that, that was the final prelim we'd have by finish. You know, Ateba Gaudier delivering on the big screen. For Robert Valentine, he's now 0-3 in the UFC. Been finished in 2 of them. Get him out of here. Honestly, get him out of here. Unless he wants to fight Jackson McVeigh, there's a fight that we could do. But other than that, dude didn't really do much. We had a final finish here, and after that, we had 8 straight freaking decisions. Yeah, it kind of killed me. It got to a point where I'm just like, oh, another decision. But a lot of them, not too many of them were boring. You know, I'll say the next one, Nicola Vertaniaf and Francisco Prado went to a split decision. It was close. It could have gone either man's way, if I'm being honest. 56 significant strikes to 47 in favor of Nicola. 84 total strikes to 64 in favor of Nicola. 3 of 10 on takedowns for Francisco. 6 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. Nicola, 2 of 6 on takedowns for 2.5 minutes. Francisco had 1 sub attempt. Nicola had a reversal. This was high-level welterweight action. This was actually the first time Nicola Vertaniaf had a full camp, and we were able to see his abilities. Round 1, Francisco landed a takedown, locked a good submission attempt, but Nicola was beating him up on the feet. Round 2, Nicola hurting Francisco Prado. I mean, Prado has a chin, for goodness sakes. And then round 3, back and forth. Nicola landing takedowns, Francisco landing more control time with his takedowns, and Nicola was just throwing spitting stuff. I mean, they were leaping all over each other, and both guys hurt each other bad. And it went to the decision, and like, I scored it for Prado, but I'm not too mad at the Nicola Vertaniaf scorecard here. And this was his first win in the UFC, first win since 2023, I want to say. It's been a minute, and yeah, he'll remain in the UFC. But yeah, Nicola versus Islam Dulatov, I think, is a perfect matchup to do next. I really believe that is the next fight you should make. He's 35, and Islam is 26. You know, that's how you do it. That's really how you do it. As for Prado, 23, he's young, and dude just has terrible luck. You know, for being 1-4 in the UFC, for being 12-4 professionally, dude just has immaculately bad luck. You know, losing a decision to Jamie Malarkey, losing a decision to Daniel Zuber, losing a decision to Jake Matthews, losing a decision to Vertaniaf. Dude just can't catch a break. So let's build him up. Let's have him fight Adam Fugit if we want to do a name like that, and see if he can finally get back into the win column, because I'm trying to help you, Prado, but if you keep losing, you're going to have to go back to the independent scene and pick up some wins on your own time. But yeah, not too bad of a fight, and especially since it was the first decision, it wasn't really like annoying of any kind. Yeah, just kind of sucks I didn't pick it correctly. Following that, we oddly had the fight that won fight of the night, even though it clearly wasn't the best fight of the night. It was a good fight, but it just wasn't fight of the night, as Brendan Allen beats Marvin Vettori by unanimous decision. 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. I agree with any of those scorecards. You know, 30-27 I rock with, but these two are just animals. Just absolute animals in there. And with the win from Brendan Allen, he'll move up to number 10 in the rankings. Marvin Vettori will drop to 11. Potential to even drop a tinge more. But totals from the fight, 111 significant strikes for Brendan Allen to 109 of Marvin Vettori. 119 total strikes to 115 in favor of Brendan Allen. He goes 3 of 4 on takedowns, but only 1 minute and 27 seconds. Vettori had very good anti-grappling. And Marvin Vettori, I believe, now has either the most or third or fourth most significant strikes in middleweight history. Dude throws strikes. for absolute days. It was getting to a point where Vettori was outstriking Allen, but the power was going to Brendan Allen. And we just saw Brendan Allen fighting with this intensity I've never seen from him before, really standing on the feet, eating punches, trading, and both guys had their moments, but Brendan Allen overall had a lot more moments. And he's back in the win column, man, back in it, and his only losses are Nasruddin Imavov and Anthony Hernandez in the last 4 years. I don't think that's too shabby. So good stuff for Brendan Allen, winning fight of the night. I knew he had it in him, and he delivered when he needed to. So what's next for Brendan Allen? I don't really know. If I'm being honest, Paulo Costa's a name we're going to bring up. That could be next. You could see him potentially take on the loser of Robert Whittaker and Rainer Day Ritter. You could see him take on Roman Dolidze, winner or losing against Anthony Hernandez. You could see him take on the loser of Jared Cannonier and MVP, maybe even the winner of that. I mean, there's a lot of options. If Kyle Barallo loses to Nasruddin Imavov, he could take on Kyle Barallo. I don't know. I don't know, but winning in Louisiana, good stuff for our boy Brendan Allen, who a lot of people hate, who I am actually quite fond of. As for Marvin, man, kind of feel bad for Marvin Vettori. Dude's an absolute dog, but 3-fight losing streak, 1-4 in his last 5, 2 and 5 in his last 7. It's been tough, but dude's never been dropped. I thought he was going to get knocked out here against Brendan Allen in round 1. Never been knocked down, never finished. Marvin Vettori is an animal. But what I would really love to see, though, with Marvin Vettori is to build him up again. Get a little win streak going, Bruno Ferreira, let's have him fight Marvin Vettori. Ikram Alkaserov, Abus Magomedov, Roman Kopilov, for goodness sakes. You could do a number of middleweights that are in the lower upper level, if you know what I'm saying. Let's have them fight Marvin Vettori. Because Marvin, he's been fighting top guys for a while. Like, if we want to knock Marvin for his losses, listen to all of his losses in the UFC. Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Jared Cannonier, Roman Dolidze, Brendan Allen. So maybe we give him a break, have him fight some lower level competition. He can get back in the win column. But good stuff for Brendan Allen. Still a little confused how this one fight of the night. Maybe a bit biased because Brendan Allen is from Louisiana. I don't know. Following that, we got into our final prelim, Vincius Oliveira and Kyler Phillips. And if anything, I'm more impressed Kyler Phillips survived the onslaught of Vincius Oliveira. Dude is a killer. All right, Lock Dog is a lock dog indeed. 29-28. Kyler Phillips wins round 1. Kind of a tricky time for Vincius figuring out the style of Kyler Phillips. But at the end of round 1, he started getting it going and hit him with some good, clean shots. Round 2, the most obvious 10-8 round I've seen in my life. No judge gave it a 10-8. I'm so glad that, the Verdict scorecard is a thing, and I encourage everyone to use Verdict MMA, the app, because you get to see everyone else's perspective that this was clearly a 10-8 round. 41 significant strikes to 4, 47 total strikes to 9, a knockdown, and landed a takedown for 2 minutes and 17 seconds of control time. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Round 3 comes around, 33 strikes 16. Vincius just lays into him, takes over, and dominates. And that'll be win number 6 in a row for Vincius Oliveira. Impressive that he couldn't get the finish here just because of the toughness of Kyler Phillips. But, dude is 4-0 in the UFC. He's delivered. Excited to see what is next for him. He'll be moving up to number 12 in the rankings. And someone like Rob Font, obvious name, someone like Marlon Vera, someone like Amin Zahabi, Devison Figueiredo. There's just so many names for Vincius Oliveira. If I could pick specifically one, Rob Font. Rob Font's going to always be the go-to for guys to fight, try to move up in the rankings. So, dominant win for Vincius Oliveira. As for Kyler Phillips, I presume an unranked contender, maybe the winner of Damon Blackshear and David Grant coming up, especially if it's Damon Blackshear. That's who I would like to see fight. But, yes, entertaining fight, 96 and strikes to 49. Vincius Oliveira dominant over Kyler Phillips. And was this the first time Kyler's been knocked down in his UFC run? Yeah, this is the first time he's been dropped in his career, I think, actually. Wow. Yeah, the power of Lock Dog is legit. And how old is he? 29. Still entering his prime. Exciting stuff from Oliveira. And with that, we got into the main card. And I gotta say, guys, just not it. Not it on the main card. We're kicking things off. Michael Johnson, Daniel Zellhuber. Happy that Michael Johnson won, but gonna be honest, just kind of a dull fight. Really was a dull fight, and in typical fashion, round 1 was close. Edge in the strikes to Michael Johnson, 24-12. Round 2, he dropped Daniel Zellhuber. All right, and Zellhuber fights his way back at the end. And round 3, Zellhuber, strikes were close, but defended a takedown, kind of landed some bigger shots, was back and forth, and Michael Johnson wins a 29-28 decision. And that was kind of that. I mean, it was like, wow, all right, well, Zaluber suffering an unnecessary defeat here. But 87 strikes to 52. Michael Johnson wins this fight by unanimous decision. That's 3 in a row. That is 3 in a row for Michael Johnson, who's 39 years old. What in the world? What in the absolute world is going on? I don't even know what to do with him. I legit have no idea what to do with Michael Johnson at 39, fighting at lightweight. Jim Miller, he can freaking fight. I have no idea. I'm actually like so confused. I was prepared to give Daniel Zaluber a big shot, but I guess not. And Daniel Zaluber is now on a 2-fight losing streak. Somehow him and Francisco Prado makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, Zaluber is suffering a defeat here. He's now 15-3. He's gonna need a bounce back win of some kind. Lightweight doesn't really offer me anyone right now. I don't really know, guys. It's tricky at lightweight. It really is. Who's Michael Johnson faced as of late? No one really notable. Diego Ferreira could be a potential opponent for Daniel Zaluber. He's taking on Bobby Green. Maybe the winner of that takes him on. Mateusz Rebecca versus Michael Johnson could be fun. I don't know. Maybe Beneil Dariush. Okay, there we are. Beneil Dariush versus Michael Johnson. Give Michael Johnson a shot at the rankings. Boom. That's it. That's what I want. That's what I'm here for. Exciting stuff. But yeah, this was a very just boring fight overall. And, I was like, not another decision. All right, let's get some finishes. Following that, we headed to the men's featherweight division, and son of a gun, Dan Ige lost, man. Dan Ige loses to Patricio Pitbull, 29-28. It's across the board in another fight. And tail of this fight, Patricio, 2 of 3 on takedowns in round 1, 1 of 1 in round 2, landed 2 of 5 in round 3. Patricio won round 1. Patricio won round 2. Pitbull loses round 3 to Dan Ige. Dan comes alive in round 3, actually clipped Pitbull, and just no one had killer instinct on the main card. I kid you not. Like on the prelims, it was like when there's a chance to get a finish, I'm hunting with all intensity. On the main card, none of that. None of that whatsoever. And yeah, just kind of a run-of-the-mill Dan Ige loss. This is going to be his 10th professional defeat. And somehow, Dan Ige's 1-3 in his last 4. I mean, if anything, this just shows how bad Sean Woodson is. But yeah, Dan Ige, rough loss here. And as for Patricio Pitbull, 37th professional win, but leaving little to be desired. Pitbull's going to debut at 11 in the rankings, but certainly will not be fighting up. And, potential opponents for him next, I'm going to go out there and say, like, Steve Garcia. I'm going to say David Onama. I'm going to say Yusuf Zalal. Names like that. If I'm being honest, those are the types of guys I want to see Pitbull fight. I don't even know who he called out, for goodness sakes, but that boy is nowhere near ready for a title shot. As for Dan Ige, he's also going to be fighting down. I don't know, maybe Dan Ige, Calvin Kattar could be the move. It's always kind of tough to say, but featherweight, uncertain right now. Fairly uncertain about what I want to have happen next for these guys. I don't know. I really don't even have any guesses. Let's have Dan Ige fight an unranked contender trying to break into the rankings. That's when he's most exciting. How about Sodiq Yusuff? Let's give him another shot. Or actually, who did Sodiq lose to? Was it Myron Santos? I think it was Myron Santos. Yeah, Myron Santos versus Dan Ige. Let's make that matchup. That's the fight I want to see. And, Pitbull, do whatever with. Dude has no aura. Dude has no hype. I'm actually fairly disappointed that he won this matchup. After that, we got what I thought should have been fight of the night at this point. I think everyone can agree this should have been fight of the night at this point, and it was just anarchy. It was anarchy. Daniel Rodriguez versus Kevin Holland. It might be fight of the year. It might be fight of the year. It was insane. I have never seen two guys just go at it and not be able to finish each other. I've never seen basically 2 10-8 rounds in a row. I mean, utterly insane. So we get round 1 going. Kevin Holland outstrikes Daniel Rodriguez 40-29, but a bit more power on the side of Daniel Rodriguez. I had it going for Kevin Holland, but I can see people scoring it for Daniel Rodriguez. Round 2, 10-8 for Daniel. 2 knockdowns, 31-7 strikes to 12. I mean, I have no idea how Kevin Holland survived both these. He was getting laid into the face. He was trying to throw up submission attempts any chance he could, and it was just getting laid into. I mean, it was rough. It was rough. I have no idea how he survived it. We're going to round 3, and everyone's just like, yeah, Kevin Holland's going to get knocked out. He goes out round 3, starts laying into Daniel Rodriguez. I mean, there was multiple times I thought the ref should have stopped it. There's at one point where Daniel Rodriguez gets clipped and literally just grabbed his face and just fell over, and he's laying on him, and he somehow survives, and he ends the round in top mount. I mean, these two guys were gassed. This was insane back and forth, and Daniel Rodriguez gets the unanimous decision win. Wow. absolutely crazy. 82 submission strikes to 77 in favor of Kevin Holland. 1 knockdown for Kevin, 2 for Daniel Rodriguez. Total strikes for both men, 111 each. Wow. Crazy. 1 of 4 on takedowns for Kevin Holland, 2 minutes control time, 0 of 1 for Daniel, 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Yeah, this was crazy. This was an absolute crazy fight, and Kevin Holland is now going to be 2-2 in 2025. And, you know, this is weird to think that Daniel Rodriguez is actually now ranked number 13 in the world at welterweight. How does that work? I do not understand MMA math whatsoever, but Kevin suffered another freaking defeat here. I mean, dude, what are we doing, Kevin? What are we doing? Let's just continue his purge of the unranked welterweights. Who's Neil Magny taking on? That's what I want to know. Let's do Kevin Holland versus Neil Magny if we're going to be doing fights like that. That's something that I want to see. You could also do, he already beat Santiago Ponzinibbio, Alex Morono. Alex Morono could be a name Kevin Holland takes on, but yeah, let's just keep having him fight unranked welterweights. Now, as for Daniel Rodriguez, I mean, this man's on a 3-fight winning streak. This man has beaten Alex Morono, Santiago Ponzinibbio, and now Kevin Holland. What do we do with him? I say we reward him. You just got a massive win over Kevin Holland where everyone was writing you off, even myself. Let's give him a good opportunity. And who better to fight than the loser of Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates? I think that is a perfect matchup you two can put on. Now, if you don't want to have him fight someone like that, how about Wonderboy Thompson? How about Wonderboy Thompson's retirement fight at the White House against Daniel Rodriguez? I think that would be lots of fun, but hey, that's just me. So, good stuff for Daniel Rodriguez. This was a very good, entertaining fight, even though my boy Kevin Holland lost. I wanted Kevin Holland to win. I picked him, and he just couldn't get it done. Kind of a shame. Following that, we got into the co-main event, and when I look back at all of our pay-per-view co-main events, you know, this isn't the worst, but it was just like happening. It just happened. 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. Paulo Costa just, Roman Kopylov. And this was a classic Paulo Costa, but not a kill-hungry Paulo Costa. I mean, he dropped Kopylov in round 1, looked dominant. Then round 2, I mean, was outlanding him, but power shots were going to Kopylov. And then round 3, Kopylov had multiple chances where if he would have put on the pressure on Paulo, he could have finished him and just never pounced. And Paulo Costa gets the unanimous decision. 99 submission strikes to 48, 102 total strikes to 48, and yeah. Big win for Paulo Costa. First win since 2022. First win over a person currently in the UFC right now. You know, this is the first person he's actually beaten who is not inactive on the roster. You know, snaps his little 2-fight losing streak. Good stuff for Paulo Costa. And he's going to be ranked at 13. You know, calling out Khamzat Chimaev was so dumb. I have no idea what to think of this. It was kind of a mess, if I'm being honest. And Roman Kopylov is ranked 14. Do we boot him? I don't know. Roman Kopylov versus Bruno Ferreira could be a potential fun fight. The winner of Brian Battle and Nursultan Ruzoboyev could take on Roman Kopylov. Albus Magomed could take on Roman Kopylov. Ikram Akasev could take on Roman Kopylov. Roman Kopylov was clearly not ready for this opportunity. But when we look at the losses for Roman Kopylov, yeah, it's Anthony Hernandez, Paulo Costa, and you know some other randoms in the beginning of his career. So going to be like that for Roman Kopylov. As for Paulo, you know what? Let's find a guy for him. Let's find Paulo someone to fight. Brendan Allen versus Paulo Costa. Oh, I think that would be a trash talking, amazing fight. You could also try and boot him up there, taking on the loser of Roman Dolidze and Anthony Hernandez. Dare I even say you could run Jared Cannonier if he beats MVP against Paulo Costa. Paulo needed one win to insert himself back into conversation of I can fight top guys, and you know what? The Eraser will probably have some opportunities down the line. But he's 34, and he needs to do something right now. He quickly went from being 29 years old, being a top contender, to being 34, just like that. So Paulo Costa beats Roman Kopylov in a fight where it shouldn't have been the main event. Didn't really get me hyped for the main event, which was Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. And I'll say that this fight would have probably been a bit different had it not been in Louisiana, had it not been, labeled as Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, because it really made everyone root for Dustin, and it kind of made Max winning bittersweet. And even after Max won, he did his little call out to Ian Topura, said I'm the BMF, but, let's give Dustin his moment. And I really commend him for that. But Max Holloway beats Dustin Poirier by unanimous decision in a very entertaining fight. But, entertaining, it was fight of the night. Scorecards were 48-47, 49-46, and 49-46. I love the 48-47 scorecard, personally my favorite, but the 49-46 I can also see. Round 1, Max drops Dustin. I think everyone was kind of in shock that Dustin almost got finished in round 1, almost got knocked out. To make things better, Max was beating on him again in round 2. Final remaining seconds, Dustin drops Max Holloway, only the second time in his career officially he's been dropped. Mind you, in the last 3 fights, Max has been dropped. And wow, almost knocked him out, and then goes for the gilly, jumps the gi one last time. I'm so happy he did. It was awesome. And then, basically won round 2 in my book. Round 3 comes around, very competitive, but kind of an edge to Max. He was just landing far more significant strikes. Round 4, also competitive, but, could have gone either man's way. And then round 5, all Max Holloway. And the final 10 seconds, they do like the stare down, then they go to throw, and Dustin just had enough of eating shots from Max Holloway. Max Holloway's shots and his spinning kicks are just so fast. Like, Max Holloway was looking prime tonight. He also becomes the first man to defend the BMF belt, and Max Holloway will pick up his 23rd UFC victory. Good stuff for the Blessed Express, as he will improve to a very stellar professional record of 27-8. Good stuff for Max Holloway. And as for Dustin, I do have to say, for being a retirement fight, fighting your rival of Max Holloway, being able to go out in front of your family, not getting finished, landing a knockdown on one of the greatest fighters of all time, going for one last guillotine, man, gotta give him credit. And to be fair, Max Holloway was bleeding a lot more than Dustin Poirier. I do gotta give it. Dustin hits pretty damn hard, and you know what, Diamond? It's one way to end your career. So Dustin Poirier will end his run with a very, not too bad UFC record of 22-9 with 1 no contest. His professional record will be 30-10 with 1 no contest. Good stuff for the Diamond. But yeah, that'll be a career for Dustin Poirier. Absolutely love it, going out on his own terms at 36, not letting the sport retire him. Because, there wasn't really much else to do unless we did a legendary fight like this. There was going to be Arman Tsarukyan. There was going to be Dan Hooker, Matuska, Paddy Pimblett, Moicano, Chandler. There's just going to be all these up-and-comers. I'm glad this is how it went out for Dustin Poirier. So, good stuff for Dustin. You're an absolute legend of the game. Outside the octagon, dude's an absolute legend. Good stuff. But for Max Holloway, 198 significant strikes. Absolutely crazy. And the Diamond, 109. And a knockdown for each man. I do say there was a lot of knockdowns on this card. That's what made it really exciting. But, yes, total strikes thrown, by the way, 378 thrown for Max Holloway, 255 for Dustin Poirier. So what does Max do? What does Max Holloway do? It's weird. It's weird that, we can officially say Dustin Poirier's retired and there's nothing left for him to do, and it's kind of sad. Does he still have more left in him? Yes, but when I say he has more left in him, I'd want to see him fight Dan Hooker. I'd want to see him fight Charles Oliveira. I'd want to see him have legacy fights, Colby Covington. So I'm glad he's doing this, walking out on his own terms. Good stuff. But for Max, Max Holloway, number 11 pound-for-pound fighter, currently ranked at number 5. He's going to be moving up to number 4, potentially number 3 in the lightweight division. And calling out Ilia Topuria, I really love. I just don't know what we're going to do. All right, there's a couple options. So first one, Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway run it back. Personally, don't love that. I think Volkan Holloway, their kryptonite is Ilia Topuria, such as how Max Holloway's kryptonite is Volkanovski, Volkanovski's kryptonite is Makhachev. Ilia Topuria is the center antagonist who is just, the inner villain who will just knock them both out repeatedly for the end of time. So I would not love to see that, but the UFC likes making big fights. That is something they may do. Second option, BMF title belt against Charles Oliveira. That's great. All right, someone's going to sleep. All right, you're either seeing Max Holloway get finished or you're seeing Charles Oliveira get finished. And if we see this version of Max Holloway, I'm betting on Charles Oliveira getting finished. I would absolutely love that. Third option, only other thing I can see, Arman Tsarukyan. Okay, but I'm thinking the trajectory here is Arman Tsarukyan's going to be fighting Ilia Topuria for the belt. Are some rumors circulating around? Paddy Pimblett's going to be taking on Justin Gaethje, rumored to be 319, but it's not finalized. You then have Charles Oliveira take on Max Holloway, and yeah, that's kind of what you do there. Dan Hooker, I don't know what to do with Dan Hooker. He can fight Matuf's Cameron. How about that? But yeah, if it's up to me, Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway. Let's build him up by defending the BMF belt because, I mean, I don't know what else to really do with him. So good stuff for Max Holloway. He ends UFC 318 victorious, and for the Diamond, he goes out on his shield. And yeah, going 0-5 on the main card predictions, definitely not good for my reputation. Definitely don't love that, but, you know, it just happens. It happens sometimes, and you live and you learn, as I've been telling myself this whole time. I'm so sorry, guys. My predictions were bad, but my prelims, 8-1, not too shabby. But with that, we conclude 318. Definitely not the worst. Definitely nowhere near as bad as 312, but definitely nowhere near the 317s, 314s of the world. So 318 from Louisiana, I say goodbye to you. And where do we look forward to, guys? Where are we heading next? How about a little Abu Dhabi? That's right. Robert Whitaker, Rainer Day Ritter on ABC. It's going to be action-packed. I'm so pumped for this card. I really am. You also have Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee, Shara Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Baljuch, Asul Mabayev is in action. You have Nikia Krylov, Bogdan Guskov, Bryce Mitchell, Said Nurmagomedov, Carlos Neal back in action, Damon Blackshear, Ibo Aslan. Yeah. This is an action-packed card. I'm so excited to cover it too, guys. I mean, this is going to be fantastic. That episode will be dropping later in the week. Now, as for our next pay-per-view, UFC 319 is really weird. The co-main event is actually not official. They're still waiting to announce a co-main event. So the official fights that will be on your main card, Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates, Jerry Cannonier, Michael Page, and Tim Elliott, Kai Sakura. Prelims, Bobby King Green versus Diego Ferreira, Gerald Mearshart versus Michael Kajacek, Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez, Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez, Edson Barbosa versus Drakkar Klose, Brian Bala versus Nursultan Ruzaboyev, and Kieran Silva versus J.J. Allred. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You currently have 11 fights. One more to be confirmed. Probably going to add in 2 more. This UFC 319 card in Chicago is looking to be one of the biggest ones of the year. So what could the co-main event be? I guarantee it's going to be Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje. I don't have another guess. Okay, I really don't have another guess on what it could be. I think that's what it's going to be, but if not, I don't know. So we'll leave that up for discussion when we check back later in the week. We'll see what new matchups have been announced. We'll kind of see the current state of things all over. Maybe we'll do another WWE check-in. I don't know, but 318, you know what? I had a fun time watching you. Final event I watched in 605, my apartment with my buddies. And next time I watch a pay-per-view, it will be in my living room after watching live MMA all day. Alrighty, I'm rambling on, ladies and gentlemen. Go out there, have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.